as the voice of Ken Kaneki on Tokyo Ghoul. You know as the voice of Naito Monoma on My Hero Academia, and the voice of Karma on Assassination Classroom, and much, much more. Please, let's give a nice warm welcome for the one and only Austin Tindle.
That's right. Scream. Oh, wow. There's
Yes,
so many
yes,
of
yes. Welcome, welcome.
you. Hi, guys.
All right.
Thank you for joining me this lovely Saturday, early after pre-noon.
Yeah, it's early. Yeah. Are you an early morning type of person?
No, not at all. I'm a night owl.
Oh, yeah, me too, man. I love staying up late. I feel like that's where my brain works the best. I come up with my best ideas.
I read something recently that suggested that studies are showing that certain people that are night owls might suffer from a circadian rhythm that's longer than most people.
Okay.
So you end up getting off cycle with when your body wants to be asleep and awake.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to say that's what's going on with me.
All right, we can say that. So welcome to Columbus.
Thank you for having me.
Is this your first time here, or you've been here before?
It is. I've never been to Columbus, Ohio. When I was on my way here, I was talking to my mom, and she apparently grew up in Columbus, Ohio, and I had no idea. I think she was here from the ages of like 4 to 13.
Oh, wow. That's like a significant chunk of your life. I mean, you know, did she give you any suggestions of places you should go visit or
she
check out?
didn't. She just said it's a really great place to grow up. And I thought, that's not going to help me with dinner reservations, Mom.
Right. You, I did a lot of research about you, and I saw that you were born in Florida, and then you moved around a bit. You went to, Georgia, South Austin, and now Dallas. Are you still in Dallas now, or?
Yeah, just north of Dallas. I'm in Richardson, which is basically Dallas.
And do you remember anything from your childhood in Florida, or how long were you there?
I think I moved away from there really. It was like 3 or 4. I have a few tiny memories of like my grandparents' house. And I have a memory of being at whatever Disney is over there, World or Land.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
World, I believe.
But I have a memory of being in the underwater, like mermaid ride.
Okay.
Seeing some mermaid cardboard cutouts, being really freaked out by it. And my older cousin Jason had just gotten a buzz cut, so I decided I wanted to get a buzz cut. And that's everything I know about Florida.
All right, cool, man. So where along your journey did you begin voice acting?
I started in 2009 professionally. I kind of fell into it. I was doing theater in Dallas. So I had gone to Dallas as an electrical engineering major. I was there on an academic scholarship to UTD. And then I ended up getting cast as Romeo in Romeo and Juliet with Classical Acting Company, which was a nearby regional theater. And then I switched majors and got a job as an office manager for a nonprofit that raised money for an arts magnet school. And I spent like 10 years doing theater and not having a life outside of just work and rehearsal. And then eventually I got an agent, and they got me an audition at Funimation. And then it was like another 10 years of kind of grinding before I found my way here and places like this. And now here we are.
Yeah, you've definitely had quite the journey. I know in my research about you, I saw, while you were recording Tokyo Ghoul, is it true you were living in a van at the time?
I was living in my girlfriend's van. Like I said, I was an office manager for like 8 years, and then I was starting to get work with Funimation, but having a full-time job and trying to be on call for contract work like that is pretty difficult. So, I wasn't. I had a gym membership, and I still had a bank account and a storage unit. But there was like 6 months where we just lived in her van so that we didn't have to pay rent. and during that time, I ended up booking enough gigs and then starting to get attention from like con running managers and stuff that I started getting invited to conventions. So there was a while there where I was like sleeping on couches or in hotels. And what a weird job.
Yeah, what was your like mentality in that time? I mean, I'm sure it was a struggle to stay positive, but also you're doing what you love, so that's something that keeps you moving.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty chaotic time. I was pretty feral, I want to say. I was working out a lot of my own stuff, and you can hear that in my performance in Tokyo Ghoul. There's a lot of drama that I was processing, but I don't know if I would say that it was hard to stay hopeful or positive, but it was a chaotic time, right. And I was certainly. In some ways, it's easier to kind of get into the. Complicated emotions of certain scenes when your life is already complicated. Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it adds to the performance for sure. You can draw from that, or no?
I think, if anything, I think it's that that you're living life more in the moment, mm-hmm. kind of out of necessity. And in any art form and any industry, that the people that are living day by day struggling to make something of themselves have that extra stat buff of being, committed to the present moment. I've noticed that in a lot of career paths, once you get to a certain amount of income, you kind of lose a certain amount of ability to be as good at your job because you become more invested in a life that you now have where you can afford to, have a mortgage and go to therapy and have a trainer and start a family. And then you're less inclined to spend all of your free time just thinking about sounding like a 17-year-old kid that just got superpowers or whatever.
How much did you know about Tokyo Ghoul when you first booked it?
Nothing really. I knew very little about Tokyo Ghoul. I want to say I did audition. And if I remember correctly, the audition side is just, they usually do this where they only give you like 5 lines, and it's it's a few different emotional ranges. So it's like something quiet, something scared, something angry. And then the last line for that audition was just scream as loud as you can. So I think that was part of what got me the gig. But no, when I knew that it was an important show coming up, and I knew that it might affect my life, but I didn't really know a lot about the universe. And I did get, I got a basic crash course. I didn't read all the manga, but I read some of it, and did some online research and had some conversations with directors and producers about what the show is about. But for the most part, I think, and I know a lot of other actors who think this way too, that especially with anime, sometimes it's useful to not know what's about to happen to your character. Yeah. So it can be good to not overly research so that you're more in a state of being present, sensitive, and aware, and in the moment. Like you knew.
Yeah, the story kind of unfolds as you go along, so it's like a surprise to you. It's exciting to you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, man. You were quoted once as saying that you play a lot of characters or people with obnoxious laughter.
Oh, yeah.
Would you say that's like a resume point for you, or like a calling card? Like, hey, that's the obnoxious laughter guy.
I feel like I don't know. I haven't had anyone in a position of power come to me and say, we want you for your laugh. I've had fans remark on it, and I also wonder if it's just that I have an obnoxious laugh, and that's just inherently part of what I bring to the table. So I haven't. It hasn't ended up on a resume yet, but I also haven't updated my resume in like 4 years.
It's gonna be long because you've done so many things. Like in my research, like it's like pages upon pages.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of anime dubs, and the thing about it's easy to get a lot of roles in anime because there's so many one season shows,
right?
And each of those seasons is going to have main characters and side characters, and as long as your character is a name, they're going to end up as a listing on your IMDb page or your Wikipedia or whatever behind the voice actor studio. So it says I've done like 350 different characters, but a lot of those guys said like 10 things.
Like, I believe you were in My Hero Academia.
Yes.
Why? And was that a big role for you, or just a quick?
I mean, he's got a Funko Pop, so
there you go.
He's not on screen a lot, but he's gotten some attention, and very obnoxious laugh.
Yeah, Naito, right?
Yeah. He's known for being very annoying. And what's great about it is all my friends who are like real main characters of that show that don't have a Funko Pop yet, I get to ramp up the annoyance by being like, oh, you don't? That's funny, I do. That's how weird. I feel so bad for you. Yeah, it's okay.
All right.
I'm really killing it today with the laughs.
So,
thank you guys so much for spending time with me too.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. Of course, you're going to be here all weekend, yes?
I will be here all weekend.
Yes, so make sure you visit him at his booth, at his table.
That's
Go
right.
say hi.
I'll be at my table.
You know, one of the funny things I Googled about Tokyo Ghoul, sorry to cut you off, is that it's one of the main questions says, is it okay for a 12-year-old to watch Tokyo Ghoul? And it's funny because it's been banned in a lot of countries.
Has it really?
Yes, it's banned in China, it was banned in Russia.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and of course, there's a censored version and an uncensored version. Which do you prefer?
I've never seen the censored version.
Okay, so you only know the uncensored version.
I'm not sure what they'd censor specifically.
I think it was a lot of the violence, a lot of the stuff with your character, especially. I don't want to get into details.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's I guess it's cool to be part of a controversial show because it kind of brings more attention to the project.
Yeah, I guess so. I never thought of it that way, but whatever attention we can get, Daddy's got to eat. Got to sell those prints. Got to sign those Funkos. Come on. Is it appropriate for a 12-year-old? I mean, maybe it depends on the 12-year-old.
Right.
I think mostly the answer is no. But if you've already had a pretty traumatized childhood, then maybe this is cathartic for you. 15 though, you're good to go.
That's what Google said.
Is it?
Yeah, it said maybe a mature 15 is good. 12, I'm not sure. I'm not too sure.
There's something about Tokyo Ghoul that I think speaks to the trauma of coming of age, and so much of anime does. So many of the stories that shape us are really anthems for the strange, necessary trauma of becoming an adult. But there's something I think really universal about the journey that the character goes on, but also a lot of the lines that I think end up becoming iconic and sticking in people's minds, when taken out of context, have this kind of universal appeal to something we all, I think, experience. It's essentially the story of a young person that feels isolated, who feels like they have a lack of guidance and they don't feel like they fit in anywhere. and something changes inside of them, and they have to come to terms with what that is and how that defines them and what their new responsibilities are with this change. And I think that speaks to something that a lot of us have gone through. And especially after the pandemic, there was more attention towards that show, and I think some of that is because there's something universal to what that character goes through, and something that a lot of people resonate with. Again, you could say that about Death Note, probably.
Yeah.
Or Dragon Ball. I know I relate to what it's like to be a immortal Saiyan who
you've actually had an opportunity to voice a couple characters, Sour, Raspberry, Leak in the Dragon Ball series.
I did.
Yeah, how was that? Because I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. Even just to have one line in Dragon Ball would be so amazing, and you got to do 3 different characters. I mean, what was that like?
I've done some more characters than that technically, because there's a bunch of background stuff in like Dragon Ball Kai that doesn't get credited. Bit parts all over the place, but it's great. I always wanted to be in an identifiable anime, and now I am. And what's even nicer is when I talk to people in public and they're like, "What do you do for a living?" And I'm like, I do the English dubs for anime. And they're like, what are you talking about? I can be like, Dragon Ball, do you know what Dragon Ball is? Yeah, I'm in that. Because if you say...
Everybody knows Dragon Ball.
Everybody knows Dragon Ball nowadays.
But if you're like, hey, I'm in Assassination Classroom, and they're like, what's that?
Yeah, you get a little bit less reaction from certain age groups and cultures. But one of the coolest things, like a stepping stone, I think, or not a stepping stone, but like a new level up in my voice acting career was when Xenoverse came out, because Raspberry's a playable character in Xenoverse, and I'd never experienced what it was like to play my own guy. I haven't done a lot of video games. There's a few things where you can go play as someone that I've voiced. But when that Xenoverse came out, I went over to Ian Sinclair's house, who voices Whis, because he had a copy of the game. And I just silenced the sound effects and the music, and I started a fight, and I played against myself, so I was my character playing against my character, and it was just this weird cacophony of and I just giggle. I remember giggling for 10 minutes at just the weirdness of hearing myself in a fighting game.
I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
I would just play as myself all the time. That's hilarious.
I got over it. Now I don't want to hear myself. Now I don't like it. Well, now I'm just like, I hear what I could have done better there.
So you mentioned the pandemic, and I wanted to ask you, how you made it through that time. Did you work a lot? I know, a lot of voice acting now is done remotely, but how did that affect you, and how did you just make the pandemic work for you?
I was pretty lucky. It did switch to remote during the pandemic. What was Funimation, now Crunchyroll, they really quickly just put together these voice actor kits and sent them to us, and we all kind of tried to create our own little walk-in booths. I was in a 600 square foot apartment, but I had this one little closet that I converted. But one of the things that I got lucky with is we have these things called Walla groups, and that's generally where you record all the real background stuff and bit parts.
Yeah, with all actors.
I hear that is. I've heard a few different origin stories of the acronym or the It's not an acronym. I guess it's an initialism, technically.
Yeah.
Anyway, they shove 4 guys into a room together and have them talk over each other to do just the background sounds that happen when scenes are taking place in public. Then during those recording sessions, they'll also come in and do little like one-line bit parts where it's like the waiter or the
Man 2.
Yeah, the
Guy
announcer on the
street.
train.
Yeah.
The various soldiers that get killed pretty quickly. So they needed walla groups on top of still. My beard is stabbing my nose. I needed to trim it this morning. So they needed these walla groups on top of still needing, the solo recordings from everyone that they were doing at home. But since we were all quarantined in a bubble, getting 4 guys that can get into a booth together was pretty difficult. So me and 3 of my buddies, we agreed to bubble together. And we became a walla group, and we ended up getting used a bunch because there just wasn't that many available. Pre-pandemic, they would just grab any 4 actors and be like, hey, can you come in and do a walla session? Now, and even now that we're back in studio, walla has still evolved to kind of these groups that people are getting used to using and who are becoming loyal with each other. It's actually not a bad gig if you can get into it, the walla gig.
It's not bad at all. I mean, sometimes I've done walla on projects where I have to have a conversation with myself.
Right,
you know, you know what I mean? And that's not being told beforehand, I just go with my whatever voice I'm going to do. And they're like, all right, now you're that guy talking to him. And I'm like, all right, now I got to talk to myself. Why didn't you tell me? I would have done some different voices,
Right.
So that's always fun to do when you're in the booth. It's such an exciting gig to be a voice actor and just to be able to express and play these characters and bring them to life. Do you have any particular character that you've done that is your favorite? I know it's hard. It's like picking your favorite kid, but do you have one that speaks to you the most?
I'm going to say Knives, Millions Knives from Trigun Stampede. Funko Pops are out now. Get yours today. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It's a good show. Sleeper hit of the year. And I do a really good job. So go watch it on Crunchyroll. Leave a comment about how good I am.
Yes,
Then look at them. Then follow me on Twitter.
What's your Twitter, by the way?
It's at Austin Tindle.
Perfect. Easy to remember.
Yeah.
All right.
Go on TikTok, too, and Instagram. I don't like to post, but I need more followers. Strangely enough, it's not strange, it makes sense, but people get jobs or don't get jobs sometimes based on those numbers.
Oh, people get booked all the time just based on their social media following. Yeah, it's crazy. All right, we do have a dedicated crowd mic right over there. If anybody has any questions, you can go ahead and start lining up. And then as soon as we see a little queue build up, we'll start going to the questions.
I saw someone who started to raise their hand earlier.
All right, well, by all means, you can go check out the microphone over there. Totally cool with that.
Or if you scream it at me and I can hear it, then I'll answer it.
Yeah, and in the meantime, I know you said you were in theater, but also I do stand-up comedy as well, and you do improv.
Oh yeah.
You're in an improv comedy troupe, or?
We don't really. We've done improv, but it's mostly pre-written sketch comedy.
Okay.
And you can see a lot of our sketches on YouTube if you go to Folding Chairs Comedy Troupe. You have to type all that in, otherwise you're just going to get videos of chairs.
Yeah. Event planners.
We got some good sketches. The first sketch that I wrote for the troupe just got finished being edited and was uploaded this past month. It's called Groundhog Dade. You should go check it out. It's really good.
So what made you get into improv comedy? I know, you were in theater. Did you formulate the group, or how did it come to be?
Eric Vale started the group.
Okay.
He plays Trunks in Dragon Ball.
Oh, nice.
And he's Sanji in One Piece and Shigaraki in My Hero. He's a very famous anime voice actor. And he and his wife, I don't know if they not sure who started it, honestly, but they've been doing it for a while. There's 6 troop members total right now, including those 2 and myself. I've been with them, I think this is my 3rd year with them.
Nice.
We're trying to get some more live shows going. We performed at Con earlier this year, and we've got another show that I think we're renting out a venue in Plano, and that'll be in August. Find out more information on our social media, Facebook, Twitter. Follow us. Go watch my videos. I know how many likes that video has, so I expect to see more by the end of the day.
Yes, we want to see a spike in likes.
Yeah.
I want to say that's Folding Chairs.
Folding Chairs Comedy Troupe. They weren't really geared towards that SEO when they came up with the name. It's pretty sad, too, because Eric Vale has like 80,000 Twitter followers or something. He's a very well-known and well-liked anime star, but we've only got like 300 subscribers on our YouTube page.
Can we get like at least 50 more? There's 50 of you here.
Can we like and subscribe here, guys? Come on.
Jump on YouTube, hit that sub. And
That's right.
Yeah, follow me as well, Elgin David. Anyway, let's go. Might as well while we're up here.
While we're there, knock them off.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we have a nice line of people out here to ask some questions. So just, again, if you don't mind, keep it to 1 question per person. If we have time, we can ask some more. But let's go ahead to the Q&A mic and go ahead and say your name and what's your question.
Hello, my name is Anna, and my question is, which character's voices is the easiest to do?
If you're familiar with Ancient Magus Bride, the Ruths of my career, he's a dog. He's a familiar and best friend to the main character, and he just talks like this all the time. So, when I was younger, I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to be the Kanekis from Tokyo Ghoul, who have centipedes put in their ear and have entire episodes of torture scenes where they're just screaming nonstop. But I already proved I could do that. I don't want to do that anymore. Now I just want to play monotonous, quiet, boring characters who you still love, but who don't have to strain their voices. Yeah. Next question.
Hi, what's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm June. So my question is about Tokyo Ghoul specifically. Was there anything you did to help yourself prepare for playing the different sides of Kaneki throughout the show?
Not really. I'd like to say so, but it is always fly by the seat of your pants with these shows, so you don't really know what's coming up. In terms of some of the vocally strenuous things, like the last episodes of season 1, where he's fighting with Jason, and there's there's like a few scenes where you're just hearing him in the background screaming the entire time. I kind of prepared for that in that I was told it was coming, and I did some things just vocally to protect myself, so I made sure to get a lot of sleep and drink a lot of water, and then I'll do this thing where I'll take ginger. I'll take raw ginger and cut it up into little cubes and then soak that in honey. Or there's this Chinese honey called peipakoa, which has this kind of menthol stuff. It's very effective at kind of coating and protecting your throat. But that honey-soaked ginger, chewing on it and letting the juices roll down my throat. It's a good anti-inflammatory. I said that right. And especially if you've been screaming for a long time, you'll start to lose some of the higher tones that you're capable of doing. Getting these natural remedies like that is a great way of just tricking your body into abusing itself just a little bit longer to get some more of those sounds out. So there was that aspect of things. And a lot of times we would look through the scenes and prepare, and because it was so vocally strenuous, most of what you hear me doing in the torture scenes, those were like all first takes. Because we didn't want to run out of gas trying to go back and make everything overly precise or whatever. So it's very raw, my emotions for that. But I think in terms of emotional preparation for the universe or what the character was going through, you get an idea for what the heart of the meaning is, for what this character represents and what their objectives are and what their trauma is. But a lot of my training as an actor, I think, has been towards cultivating like a sensitivity so that I'm not overly orchestrating things. I'm not consciously making decisions from like an academic perspective of this is what the character should think, and I'm more trying to remove the barriers from my body's impulses, the things that civilized society taught us not to do as kids, so that we could be productive members of society. I try to rip off all of those trauma spots that are built inside my muscles that have taught my body to tense up instead of give in to natural impulse. Sorry, I'm really bad with run-on sentences. But yeah, there's a lot of training. Like Kristen Linklater is a vocal teacher and there's a technique known as the Linklater technique, and there's similar stuff that you'll learn in acting school if you ever decide to go there, but about just training the body to be very present, sensitive, and aware, and respond to stimuli. So in terms of getting ready for a role, it's more like making sure that I am in the moment with what's going on, so that I can respond to it in a way that even I don't expect. Sorry, took a long time to answer that one.
All right, thank you. Hi, what's your name? What's your question?
My name is Violet, and I was wondering what your favorite fight scene was that you did as a character.
Oh, hi, Violet. Thank you for your question. And I'm going to say it's the fight scene from the end of season 1 of Trigun Stampede. Out now. Get your DVD. It really is a fun fight scene, though. And I am really happy with what the decisions that the director and I made, because for the most part, my job is to just do exactly what the Japanese say you did, and to try to be as truthful and accurate to what I believe that performance is going for. And while that was still our intention with Knives from Trigun, there's a little bit more, I want to say, nuance. There's some decisions that we kind of got to make that I think made the character more justifiable, relatable. What's the word I'm looking for? Humanized, plantized. So there's something about that last fight scene that I'm proud of. But if that wasn't the answer, then of all the fight scenes that I've done, I like the emotional ones. So like, here's a deep track that many of you have probably never seen. There's a show called 91 Days, and it is like, it's a mobster show. It's an anime, but it's set in 1920s Prohibition era Chicago. And everyone talks like they're from Boardwalk Empire, if you're familiar with that HBO show. I'm dating myself right now, aren't I? But it's good. You should check it out. And I get to speak with this like mobster accent.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, how you doing? Hey.
Yeah.
Come on.
Which I don't know if that's culturally appropriate anymore.
Well, I mean, you could do like old-timey, you know?
Right, yeah.
You know, it's an age thing, like, you know, a period voice.
There you go.
You know? Boardwalk Empire, by the way, great show. If you haven't seen
Yes,
it,
such
really
a good
great
show.
Steve Buscemi. It was on HBO. You guys got to check that out. But you said 99 days?
91 days.
91 days. God, I added a few days.
Yeah. There's a couple extra days there.
All right. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
My name is Paisley, and my question is, what is the hardest line to voice in Tokyo Ghoul?
Oh my goodness. The hardest line to voice in Tokyo Ghoul. I mean, it's at first I was gonna say it would be you'd think it would be the end of season 1 in the big torture scene that he has with Jason, but there's worse things that happen in Route A after he becomes a cannibal and starts eating other ghouls, and there's another transformation scene when he starts to grow the centipede cockadra, if you're familiar, and that hurt a lot. That would definitely be the most painful. I mean, the emotional stuff was honestly maybe somewhat cathartic and possibly even, I don't know if you could say fun, but especially the open-throated crying stuff is not so physically damaging. So there's something fulfilling about nailing some of that really traumatic cry stuff. But the centipede transformations, the blood barfs, that stuff that caused some permanent damage. You can hear it in my voice. It aged me. There's certain sounds I just can't make anymore because of that show. That's all.
All right, let's go to our next question. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Alira. My question is, do you have any stories about like bad auditions or like wrong voice lines that you did?
Oh man, yeah. Gosh, bad auditions.
That's a good question, because you can go into it, thinking that the character is going to sound one way, and the producer or engineer might have a totally different vision for the character. Yeah.
I mean, so it's hard to try to think of a precise answer, because that bad auditions makes up so much of my career. I want to say literally 80% of my experience as an actor has been bad auditions. So trying to point one out in my brain. And I mean, especially the first like 5 years, I want to say I would come into the booth. You have an instinct when you start voice acting that you need to put on a voice, and I would do that every time. Usually, the way that it works with these anime auditions, depending on the studio, most of the time they'll give you a list of like 6 or 7 characters, and they'll say, "Okay, we want you to audition for 3 of these characters." And so you'll pick out 3 different characters, and then usually you'll feel the need to pick out 3 different character voices. And nowadays, and back then, and for all time, directors, for the most part, don't want to hear you suddenly talk like this. It turns out that drives them insane, because I think we all have pretty good ears these days. Even if you're not an actor, you're probably someone who has watched a lot of television. So you've kind of put in your 10,000 hours of being able to kind of subconsciously sense if something sounds truthful. We all do that so much when we watch television and in our daily lives, that as soon as you hear something sound untruthful, it rings in your ear, and it can become, there's something about it that bugs us.
Yeah, it pulls you out of the fantasy.
Yes, absolutely. And anytime you put on a voice, you got got to think about the fact that we create character voices by cutting off parts of our natural range. So the best thing you could possibly do when you're introducing yourself to a new director, when you're auditioning for a new studio for the first time, is be the full potential of yourself. That's why I think there's certain voice acting training out there that is so helpful for just learning to extend your pitch range and extend how you allow vowel sounds to resonate inside your body, which creates a more fully realized, godlike presentation of human potential. I'm really killing a little bit of time because I don't have a specific answer to this question, but
I guess what you're trying to say is just like to showcase your range and just give them as many options as possible.
I wouldn't even say don't worry about giving them as many options as possible. Show the director that you are expressive in your own body, in your own life, because you can take a Robin Williams and you can squeeze him into, the boring dad in this scene, but you can't take an already squeezed performance and expand it into something bigger. And they want to hear you being a natural you as much as possible, because we don't need someone to sound like Patrick Warburton. He already exists. It's not to say that putting on character voices is not useful in this career, but before someone hires you to do that, they're probably going to want to hire you to sound like a normal human person. And the greatest asset that you have is your own unique voice and what that brings to the table based on what pitch ranges you've figured out in your own life and what mannerisms and vocalizations reflect your accurate human experience, because unique perspectives are more important than someone who can sound like other people. Not that we ask for a motivational speech on what it means to be an actor, but I answer it so often anyway, it just comes out of me.
So be yourself.
Yeah, or somebody else if you're boring.
All right. Hi, what's your name and what's your question?
My name is Chloe, and what was one of your least amount of lines that you had in one of your voice acting?
Oh, like a character who has the least amount of lines.
Yeah.
Wow, these are really difficult questions to answer. I mean, the boring answer is that anytime I do a Wallace session, there's like some guy who dies immediately. So technically, there's a lot of guys who I've played who died immediately, and they would fall into the category of least amount of lines. I'm trying to think if there's characters that weren't necessarily loquacious. So funny. Let's move to the category of characters who are reoccurring in a show, but tend to be the type of people that don't talk a lot, because more often than not in my career, I get cast as people that talk a lot, or they talk fast, or they're the protagonist, or they're the villain monologuing. But not a lot of like stoic monosyllabic characters. People don't really look at me too often for whatever that prototype ends up looking and sounding like. But Kaguya-sama Love is War, I play Yu Ishigami, and while he does have his moments of fast, rampant ranting, he is also someone I would argue is very subdued. He talks like this all the time, and for the most part he just wants to be by himself and not be bothered. So that's my cop-out answer.
It's a good answer.
Yeah,
It's a great answer. I mean, but you're right. Just sometimes you'll go in there and it's just one loop, and you're like, "Who am I?" Oh, you're that guy who gets shot, and you just go, "Ugh," and that was it.
I was doing a bunch of background characters for Dragon Ball Kai, where they came and they did the original Dragon Ball Z, but they shortened all of it and made it more efficient, and then re-recorded all of it. But during the tournament arc, where like the Z fighters are fighting these like regular humanoid fighters, and they're doing too good of a job, and there's a scene where Goten beats this guy up, and the other Z fighters are like, "Chill out," because we don't want them to see how powerful we are. During that scene, it cuts away to the audience. Is that? Oh, look, we were just at a convention together. You're following me.
No, you're following me. I'm actually cosplaying as him today. That was it's Patty Hawkins, everybody. Yeah. Hey, it's Patty. Hey, what's going on? It's me, Patty. Hey, you want some candy? I'm cosplaying as you today. I love you, man. That's funny. I was going to text him and say, "Are you wearing your maroon jacket today?" Just so happens he is. Hey, get up here, my twin. I had a pocket full of candy before. There you go. Here you go. Hey, it's me. I'm Patty. Hi, here's some candy. All right.
Hey, wait. I forgot what was I just talking about?
We were talking about life.
No. I just thought I was going to finish. No one else cares.
Yeah. Well, we do have one more question here.
Yeah, let's move on.
This is our final question right over here. Hi, what's your name? What's your question?
Hi, I'm Peyton. I was just curious, like, what your introduction to anime was. Like, were you into it before voice acting?
Oh, good question.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my introduction to it was weird VHS videos that my dad would rent from video stores in the early 90s. And back then, things were a little less mainstream. So he would find some gnarly old movies. But I remember, like, early teenage years, back then we would have to, like, try to find these things. They weren't just Googleable. But I think I remember the first time I saw, like, Ninja Scroll. I was probably 12.
God, I love Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter D. Akira or Akira. And then I remember when Toonami came out and Fully Cooley was a thing. I used to watch Fully Cooley. I was really into that. Of course, that's just like one season. Case Closed. I used to stay up late and wait and watch Case Closed. And the original Dragon Ball. I watched that. So I wasn't like a huge weeb, but I did enjoy anime. And it's funny, like, back then it wasn't something that you could really, like, be into, because, like, there was, like, 7 things that you maybe got your hands on because your cool older cousin had it. But
yeah, it was all VHS back then. Like, you had to know somebody who had the tape.
The people that were into it when I was a kid were adult men who were able to get a hold of it. Or maybe I was just a lazy kid, I don't know. But I did enjoy anime. I probably watched it more then than I do now, because now I'm so inundated with it that I just want to go home and watch anything else. So yeah.
All right. Well, we have a few more moments here. I think it'd be the best time to just plug some things, of course, on Twitter, at Austin Tindle, on YouTube. We want to see, there's at least 50 people in here. Follow on YouTube, Folding Chairs Improv, yeah?
Folding Chairs Comedy Troupe.
Comedy Troupe. Folding Chairs Comedy Troupe. And also, you're going to be here for the rest of the weekend. People can come visit you, to come say hi. If you didn't get a chance to ask a question now, you could, of course, go visit him at his table. And anything upcoming that we can look forward to that we can hear you in?
Right now I'm in a show called Kami Katsu, God in a Godless World. It's a isekai harem anime. It's exactly what it sounds like. So watch it if you want to. But there's other stuff coming out that I can't talk about. But keep your eyes and ears open if you care about me, because there's some cool video game stuff that's coming out.
Nice. All right, well, everybody. Well, thank you so much for coming out to
Thank
this
you,
amazing
guys.
panel. One more time, big round of sound for Austin Tindle.